Hi, Tom Whitman here, HVAC Business Academy. In this episode, we're going to discuss the criteria that a technician should walk through when determining if replacing a customer's piece of equipment rather than repairing it would be a good idea. You know, the first 12 years of the 30 years that I've been involved with the heating and air conditioning industry, I was a service technician. The first 5 years, I was convinced that I could fix anything, and quite frankly, I could. I was pretty good. But it didn't dawn on me until I started to have the same customers year after year and discovered that simply fixing those old worn-out pieces of equipment wasn't always in the customer's best interest. It's not just spending a few $100s to repair it. It's also taking into consideration how much it's going to cost that customer to own over a period of time. It was really disheartening to have a customer that had a very expensive repair. In those days, $600 or $700 was a lot of money. I would repair it, everything would go great. 2 years later, I'm visiting them again because another part had failed. And they asked me the question, Tom, why didn't you bring this to my attention 2 years ago when I spent this money fixing this old piece of equipment? From that point forward, I started to go through a thought process in my own mind that I think can help you too in justifying bringing up the option of replacing a piece of equipment. Okay, so here we go. So first of all, there's a few things you want to take a look at when repair versus replace. One thing is you want to explain to the customer, is it broken? Can it be repaired? And how much will the repair cost? I know that sounds pretty straightforward, but you know what? You want to do this before you ever commit to fixing anything. So you show up, you ask the customer what the problem is, repeat it back to them, then you've completely diagnosed the system. When I say completely diagnosed, not just what's wrong with it, take a look at the rest of the system. See if any of the other motors are overamping, see if the inducer motor's fatigued, check the contactors, check the wiring. An overall general condition of the system is very, very important. Then you'll have a full picture of what's going on. Okay? Next, is it broken? Can it be repaired? And how much life is left in, how much were the repair costs, and how much life is left in the system. In any market, there's an average of how long a system should last, depending upon how many run hours. Typically, it's, 10 to 15 years, maybe 17. Much longer than that, you may want to consider looking into the condition of the system and if that option would be worth looking into. And then finally, would a new system be a better option for the customer? As I mentioned earlier, for me as a technician, having a method to go through to determine if I personally felt that it was worth mentioning replacing the system. And here's the thought process I would go through. Number one is, how old is the system? Number one. Number two is, what's the life expectancy? In other words, how long does a system like this generally last? How old is it compared to how long it generally lasts? Number three, are the parts and labor warranties still in effect? Now, how old is the system? How long does it generally last? And are the parts and labor warranties still in effect? That's going to let you know how exposed or how vulnerable your customer is to any future repairs, any unexpected repair bills. It's for them to decide if they want to take that risk or not us. Number four is, what condition is the overall system? In other words, not just what is it going to take to fix it, what's the general condition of it? How are the motors? How's the wiring? How are the circuit boards? Are they corroded? How's the heat exchanger? How's the compressor? How's the contactor? Take some pictures if you have a smartphone. Show your customer the general condition of their system. So after you've gone through these 4 steps, finally, you have to address the question, would a new system cost less to own over the next 5 to 10 years compared to their existing system? That's when you do an operating cost projection, what they have compared to something more efficient. It's real quick. Last video, we reviewed how to do that. Then you compare that to the probability of any of these other fatigued parts in that system failing over the next 5 to 10 years and the potential for future repairs. And then you simply say something like this, Mrs. Smith, I can fix your piece of equipment no problem. It'll take me about a half an hour. However, I did want to let you know that there may be some other options that are probably in your best interest if you plan on staying in the home for more than a few years. Now, based on the age and condition, and since the warranties for parts and labor are gone, would you like to look into the option of upgrading it to a newer, more efficient system with renewed warranties? Or would you like me to go ahead and repair the system that you currently have? What would you like to do? No pressure. Don't leave the role of a technician. Fully disclose all of their options. And you know what? It's been my experience and the experience of hundreds of technicians across the country over the last several years that anywhere from 15 to 20% of your customers will decide to look into that replacement option. And when they do, 80 to 85% of them buy. And it's the right thing for them. They made the decision. It wasn't forced or imposed upon you by you. So, with that, work it out, tighten up the gaps, and you'll be equipped to go make it happen.